Welcome back to the Money Conversation hosted here on Wealth Money TV. This is the second session. We're talking about pre-retirement training, and in the house I still have Josephine. Welcome back to the show for the second session.
Thank you very much, Japheth. It's really nice to be here so that we can just continue this conversation. Wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Now, help me respond to this. As we seek alternative sources of income, do we have people who are cut for entrepreneurship and others are not?
Kindly repeat that.
Do we have people who are cut for entrepreneurship? So you are an entrepreneur, this is not an entrepreneur. Is that the case?
That's an interesting question. But I have seen, okay, what I know is that you can learn. There is a process. So you can go through it, and even the ones who are very good at business can get better at it. And truly, even when we look at business out there, there are those who do business better than others do it. But I believe that there are people who are, and you even hear them say it, that they're just not cut out for business. There are people who actually say that themselves. So if someone is actually saying that, these people getting into business, they're almost bound to fail, because from the onset, they themselves know that they're not cut out for business. So it's a mindset issue. So if you already feel I'm not cut out for this, it doesn't matter what you will put in, because you see yourself as not cut out for it, you will not make it. However, entrepreneurship, there is a clear process, but then the driver has to come from within you. So even I would also say, just going through the process without the inner drive would also not result in you making it. So I think there is a combination of the two, but I feel a lot of it is versed in whether the person themselves want to do this and how hard do they want to do it, and how well do they want to do it. So I feel it's a paradox in between the two, but I feel that if the person has the drive and then they prepare themselves by acquiring and getting the skills, then they will definitely succeed. There are those who really have the drive and they push themselves and they do really well. And I feel that if they also acquired the skills, they would actually go even further.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for those who vote by the majority of themselves, they are the majority vote, and they vote, they say, I am not cut out for entrepreneurship. I am going to allow money work for me. So they purchase an infrastructure bond, 10-year one, giving them interest. How do they make use of the time that they have now? Because money is working for them.
It's interesting, and it's important. I like that you raised that. It's important that they actually do something with their time, because if they just sit, they will deteriorate. It's important to be active. So these are people who could even volunteer their time, and there's so much out there that you could do. You go to the community and you can decide this is the time that you're giving back to the community. This is time you're giving back to your society, to the community. So there's still things that you could do. You don't need the money. You have your money working for you. So you have a steady income, but you could give your resources. You could go to the community. You could go to your church, but you can find something to do to keep you active. To give back the skills that you have acquired, to help others come up also. So it's important to actually think about that and gainfully use your skills, because that in itself will give you a lot of satisfaction. It will give you a lot of fulfillment, and it will also allow you to be active. So you're not just sitting and waiting for well, death is inevitable and it will come to everyone, but you can't sit and say that you're now sitting, just sitting. It's true, you will have more time to enjoy yourself, you'll have time to relax. You even can actually even take up a new skill. at that level.
Yeah.
And I have seen people even learn a new skill and even maybe go ahead and teach it, but it's important for us to keep active.
Keep active. I talked to somebody, I think that was the other week, and I was asking them if they can make use of their skills and experiences at work while they're at home. And the response they gave me is the kind of skills and experience they have, for it to be implemented, it is highly capital intensive. So they can't do anything about it. Do we have such a skill set that is very capital intensive?
Interesting. It's true, there are skill sets that are like that, but I also believe that if the person were objective, they would still be able to find a skill that can be used. I have seen, for example, people who were scientists, really highly skilled scientists with PhDs, and were doing great work. And you find this person retiring, and they decide to go to their local school and teach physics. Yeah? Are you seeing?
Yeah.
So they are now not, for example, this may have been an astronaut, and they can't go and engage in that in the village, but they can teach physics and actually inspire people in school, children, in young adults or children in school today to be astronauts. Like they were. So I still feel that there is no way you can say that you do not have a skill that can be transferred. There is always a skill that you could use to do that.
It's just to change the way that you're actually using it.
Yes. And to really be open-minded and even go to the community or the society and look and see what are the gaps and how then can you fill the gaps. Some of them, it may even be a school and you're looking at the maintenance that is being done in that school and you realize, wow, with the kind of knowledge I have, I can actually put in place a system that would help them probably, let's say, take, let's say, a boarding school and they have a lot of waste. I could put in a system in here that would help them convert the waste that they have into something useful.
Yeah.
And there it is. You're using your skill for good.
Wow.
So I don't think you can lack something to do. It's going in there and being open-minded and seek to feel a need. Yes.
Talk to an accountant whose sense of value was majorly because they were working for a company. So they put their value in, I do accounting for company XYZ. Company XYZ is gone. Where do they find their value from?
Interesting. If they love numbers, if they love the process, if they love bringing order into the accounts of an entity in the community, they could either teach that, they could even go and look at an entity, maybe even people doing business, and going and helping that group of women to see how they could do their accounting to ensure that they're tracking what they are spending, they're tracking their revenue, they're just making sure that their business is viable. And that is also an entity. Yeah. So this, like I say, there is no lack of application of skills. It is us being open and even us understanding that, yes, I worked for organization A, but also seeing that the skills I used in organization A can be used here to help what is happening here. It could even be to just give talks to young people in a polytechnic. And you can do this free and just say, well, this is what you're doing. This is how you're getting into the market. Let me just give you information on this area. And it would still be adding value. So I think it's really being open to see where can I add value and going ahead to do it and really not belittling the opportunities that we see in the marketplace or in the community or in the society. Yeah.
That's interesting. So we've had cases where people decide, I worked for Wealth, and they have sent me a notice to proceed to retirement. But I decide to get into a post-retirement contract with Wealth as a company. How sustainable is that for an individual? And is it the wise or the right path to take?
Okay. So one, and I see that happening more and more today.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to a systemic problem in the organization. So for example, if you are at Wealth and you retire from Wealth at retirement age, and Wealth brings you back. So I am trusting that even as Wealth is doing this, Wealth is also cognizant of the fact that they did not prepare well. So already it's saying that there are skills that their team has, but they did not prepare for a transfer of those skills in time. And now after retirement, they're having to get into a contract to make sure that those skills are still available within Wealth.
Yeah.
And if Wealth is doing that, I'm also trusting that they should be ensuring that even now that they've taken this person from retirement, that they are making sure that these skills are being transferred. Otherwise, you will continue keeping these people and you're not transferring the skills. So I think that is something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for the person that has retired and is being brought back, one, it may speak of the fact that they hadn't actively prepared for retirement. So, and sometimes when organizations start doing this, we retire thinking, I'm retiring, but they will call me back, to come and do this. So if you've not actively prepared for retirement, then you're thinking, yes, I will be called back. It's also important for us to know that at some point, you will not be required. So you still need to actively prepare. So what I'm actually saying is that in the long run, this is not sustainable in the long run. It may be work for the short term, but it should not be something that should be a long-term plan for both parties, for the organization and also for the person who has retired. And this then begs the question, how are organizations preparing for knowledge transfer? And this is really prevalent in this season where we have so many of the baby boomers retiring with a lot of skills, highly skilled. So if organizations have not been active in making sure that these skills are being transferred and the knowledge is being transferred, then the problem comes where you keep looking again for the baby boomers. So I think the question is also to the organizations in terms of preparing for this. And then for the people who are retiring, it could be a good thing, but it also should be something that you should not be planning that this is your game plan after retirement. Yes, even if you're there, it should still be, it's still a window for you to start thinking actively about what you will do after retirement. And part of it could be to set up a consultancy where you could be do such things, be called back to set up systems, set up processes and things like that. Not just to the organization where you were at, to other organizations, but still you're also looking at the fact that, so for example, somebody who is maybe 70 may not want to be working 8 to 5.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you may not want to work 8 to 5. So you may have a situation where you could take up some work, but then you tell yourself, okay, at this point in my life, I just want to give maybe 4 active hours at work, and then I want to have a quiet or a less active time at the workplace. So really thinking about all those aspects.
Wow, I like that aspect. You've talked about giving 4 hours to work and then the rest of the time you do your own things. Assuming I've been away from the community for quite some time, over 35 years, and I see that most in parastatals. People have been at work for 45 years. They are now back to the community. How do they connect back?
Interesting. And remember when I said in the beginning that people need to prepare for retirement, yeah? So the people who did prepare at a certain point realized, hey, I will be going back to that community. So they started going back early at shorter intervals and ensuring that the community, they're identifying with the community. But it may happen that you didn't think that through. You were so busy with life and there you are 60 and wow, yes. But then I think it's still not too late. It is your community. So you still go in, you still look to see how do you for example, add value to the community. How do you volunteer your services to the community? How do you integrate with different community projects so that you can then be adding your value? As you're doing that, you're also connecting with the people in the community and just getting to know them, getting to add value. First of all, seeing what is happening and then seeing how it is you can contribute. So it still is a deliberate thing. You still have to be proactive about it. You have to go in there and want to engage in the community, and you have to be willing not to go to the community and sit in your house and you're waiting for people to come to you. They don't know you. So it's you going to the community and actually reaching out, going and in the projects that are there, going out there, rolling up your sleeves and meeting with people, having discussions. If there's work being done, you roll up your sleeves and you work. You engage with them. You're going to the meetings that are there in the barazas, you are going to the church meetings, so you're really interacting with the people, and in a short while you will be part of them, you're listening to them, and it's important first to not go and start telling them, but it's important for you to go and start listening to them, so that you understand where they're at, and then you can identify how do I add value. Because another thing is you going to a community and so who is this guy? What right does he have to come and tell us? So I think it's really going down there, rolling up your sleeves, being part of them, doing the things that are being done, and then listening to them, and then seeing where do you come in, where do you add value, and then integrating yourself with society at that point.
Wow. I've actually seen somebody who've done actually what you're saying. Going back, joining the church, starting the Harambe, like they participate, calling people to the home and all that. But help me differentiate between being part of the community and looking like the community. Do I have to look like them, or because I'm just from the city? I've been in Buruburu, for example. There is a life in Buruburu. There is a life in the village. So I want to be part of the village, yes, but there are aspects that I don't want to look like them. How do I balance that?
So I think it is almost the same thing that we do here in town. Blending in does not necessarily mean that you have to dress in tatters, for example. It doesn't mean that. But you need to be willing. And then also, it doesn't also mean that you go, let's say, to Farmer's Baraza and you're wearing a three-piece suit. You will be suspicious at most. And at best, you will look like you have all the money in the world, and people will feel, well, you should be giving out that money. So I think it is trying to fit in, not totally dressing down, but really looking like the community. So not looking for all your dirty clothes and torn clothes and putting those ones on, but then just dressing normally so that you are acceptable. I'll give you an example. I am here in Nairobi. We have a farm in Kwale, and from time to time, I go to Kwale, and I am there on the farm, Now, the community around where I am, especially at the farm, they're not very comfortable with ladies wearing trousers, for example. So if I went and I were trying to fit in, and I'm trying to integrate with the community there, if I went in and I'm insisting on wearing my pants, which I wear well, I'm in Nairobi and nobody has an issue with that. If I do that when I'm in Kwale, then people will not listen to what it is I have to say. Yeah. People will be very suspicious of me. So what I have learned when I am there is, and especially when I'm at the farm, is to may not necessarily be dressed exactly the way that they're dressing, but dress in a manner that is acceptable to them, so that they can listen to what it is I have to say, so that they're able to accept me as one of them, and then I can integrate into the community. Are you getting?
Yes.
So I'm not saying that you don't shower, I'm not saying that you're dirty, but what I'm saying is you also need to know and understand, so what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and making sure that you're not offending the people that you want to integrate with.
Yeah. Wow. I think I like that. I wanted to give you a clap, but yes, but that's interesting. So we appreciate you as well as a viewer for joining in and just plugging in to listen to all this conversation. Our hope is that you've taken your action items home. Are you young? You have time to decide and swing into action. You are getting there. All is not lost. She has given you the piece of advice on how to just handle that. And so we appreciate you. And we are asking, should you have anything that you want to inquire from Josephine, please remember to go to the comment section, drop us the question. You can DM us directly. We will be glad to respond to all your questions. We're in contact with Josephine and we can always seek how your questions will be responded to. Remember to like the video. Remember to share the information widely within and without your circle. So go to the sharing icon, click on that, send it to your people, let them also benefit from all this wisdom that we've had. Until we see you in the next episode as we continue on money conversation, God bless you.